everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Bree Buonomo. Hi if you're new here, or hey if you've been here before. Today is my monthly wrap-up video where I talk about the books I read, the things I wrote, and some personal life tidbits. And I've had a pretty productive, well, at least full March. We'll say full. I don't know if it was super productive necessarily, but I do have quite a few things to talk about, so I just want to jump right into it. In the month of March, I had really just got back into reading. Not that I've ever not been into reading, but I read and finished 6 books in the month, and I also started 2 more plus a magazine subscription that I decided. So wow, I have a lot to talk about. I'm going to try to be really quick. The first book that I finished was Axiom's End by Lindsay Ellis. I definitely wanted to read this one in part because I used to love watching Lindsay Ellis's video essays. Unfortunately, there was a whole thing that had happened and she stopped making them, but I was like, I still want to give her book a try. And this is a first contact with aliens book. So basically you have this main character, Cora, whose dad was a conspiracy theorist and was trying to get all the government information and leak it. I can't remember if he was actually in the government or not, but he basically had information and was trying to tell people to open their eyes. And she pretty much distanced themselves, he was on the wanted list, all that. So she didn't really have a relationship with her dad. And then she kind of just wanted to make her own life. And all of a sudden there was kind of an alien that broke into their house, and all of her dad's crazy beliefs were being brought back up and questioned if they were actually real. It goes on it's kind of like a buddy adventure story, essentially, where Cora and this alien are now kind of interconnected through the mind, and they have to determine what they're gonna do. Are we being under attack? Is the government lying? It's kind of you figure out what's going on as the story progresses. And it was a good book. I have no real strong feelings either way, so I have to give it a 3-star probably if I was gonna rate it. I don't dislike it, I don't love it, I don't hate it, I do like it. It was a good book. I think if this is your first contact with alien life book, then this is a good one to start. I think it's very easy to read, it's very easy to get into. There's a lot of 2007 nostalgia, so if you were grown up and a teenager in that time, it hits the mark for that, and I was a teenager in the 2000s, so that worked really well for me in some cases. Sometimes it was a little overkill, but for the most part I enjoyed it. And I thought a lot of the character quirks were relatable to me, so it wasn't overbearing in any way. I also just liked the dynamic between Cora and the alien, and thought that it was kind of funny with the language barriers and stuff like that. So there were definitely parts that I really liked. I will likely continue with the series if the 3rd book gets announced, because right now it has not been announced, and it's been 2 years since the 2nd book came out, and I'm kind of nervous that the book series is going to end, and I don't want to end on a cliffhanger, so I will just quit on book 1. Next, I am so excited to talk about The Black Witch by Laurie Forest. This was a 5-star read for me. I am so mad that I sat on this for so long. This book came out in 2017, and then it sat on my shelves, I think, maybe in 2018 or 2019. This was gifted to me, and it's one of those times where I'm mad that I didn't read it sooner because, gosh, this was just so good. It was a little slow to start, but once the story picked up, I was just enraptured. Basically, you follow this girl named Eleanor. Eleanor is almost 18, she's 17, so this is definitely upper YA, and I would argue it rivals adult. If you're an adult who likes high fantasy, then I really think you will like this because it has a lot of similarities to adult high fantasy as well. Eleanor is the granddaughter of the Black Witch. The Black Witch was their people's kind of savior. She was extremely powerful, she held a lot of magic, and she saved her people from mistreatment and their race from mistreatment. So a lot of the other world's races were often looking down on them. They treated them poorly, they treated them like slaves. And when the Black Witch rose, she kind of just made mass genocide and wiped out people in order for their race to now be in power. So the book definitely has a lot of racial aspects of it and dissecting that and what that means. If one person mistreats somebody, is it okay for the other person to mistreat it? Spoiler alert, no, it's not. But I really just like the complexities of this world and how our opinions are shaped in part by our ancestors and how they can be deconstructed when you start to open your ears and listen to other people's stories. It's just so well done. This is the first book in the series out of 5. The 5th book actually comes out in 2024. So if you are wanting to pick up a new high fantasy series, you have a good amount of time to read it. In addition to The Black Witch, I then continued and read the first of the 2 novellas. Both are prequel novellas. So the first one was Wand Fasted, and I again loved this. This was actually, it wasn't following The Black Witch, but it's The Black Witch's brother and his fastmate, which is Eleanor Gardner's parents. So it follows their love story, and it's definitely much more focused on the romance in this novella. And it honestly, I don't even know how it's considered a novella because it's almost like 250 pages. So it's like a full-length book in my opinion. And I really enjoyed it. I read it, like, you know, ran through that as well, and it had very similar vibes, but it was its own story completely, and the characters felt very different from the characters in The Black Witch, which are clearly super important. And I'm also interested to see if these are going to play into later aspects in the books, because there was a lot of little nuggets of information that I was just like giddy about learning. And I'm like, oh, some of this connects to The Black Witch, but are we going to learn more later on? So I'm so excited. And as my current read, I'm reading the 2nd prequel novella, which is Light Mage. This follows a character prior to The Black Witch that is introduced in the beginning of The Black Witch. So I won't spoil anything about this book, but again, same kind of vibes. You're learning about a different aspect of the world from a different character's point of view, and it's very well done. Next, in March, we had our first Tolkien book club meeting, and that is also on Discord. The link is down below, and we read The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. I adore this book. And again, I've had this on my shelf since I was a teenager. My mom bought me a box set for Christmas one year because I asked for it and then never read it because I was scared. And I don't know why I was scared, because this was amazing. Tolkien is definitely long-winded, that's for sure, but this is so musical, and I also listened to it on audio, and Andy Serkis narrated it, and it was glorious. He was a great narrator. He like sang and gave the personality traits to everybody. It was just a really good time, and I enjoyed this so much, and I learned a little bit extra about the world that I didn't have beforehand. I thought, you know, because I've watched the movies every single year, I rewatch them with my friends, and this book really holds up to the live action adaptation that we got with Peter Jackson's film. So as far as like hitting the beats, there was not much that he left out that I would argue, you know, isn't necessary to the plot. The main plot beats in the movie were the main plot beats in this book, and the extras were just fun to have and see a different part of this vast world. So I think you guys all know what this is. If you're on my channel, you probably should, because I'm a fantasy writer and reader. But yeah, I love this book so much, and I'm so happy we're reading it. The next book club is in June, where we read The Two Towers. If you want to join, the link is down below. And then for my third book club of the month, the Pixie Book Club, which I have in person, so there's no links for that, unfortunately. But we read The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner. This is a book where you are following 3 different women through 2 timelines. So one is in the present, where you're following Caroline, who just found out that her husband had cheated on her with a coworker at his job, and she is starting to try to find her identity by taking their anniversary trip solo and doing some things for soul searching and just grieving over what she thought she had with her husband. And in the meantime, you're also following in the late 1700s, where this woman and her young companion, I don't know how else to describe her, but basically these 2 women, one owns an apothecary shop that she ended up turning, it was like her mother's, and she turned it into a way to protect women and, you know, young girls from men who abuse their power. So oftentimes the women would come to protect themselves by like offing abusive men. And this young girl ends up getting involved as well. Her name's Eliza, and Eliza gets involved because she was with her mistress, who came to try to kill another woman. And the apothecary owner was like, I don't do that, and started this whole thing. So you're kind of connecting the parallels between how they live their lives and like the similarities and differences, as well as how their stories are interconnecting over time. It's just a very good story. I was actually surprised how much I liked it. It was not my choice to read for this month. However, I am very glad I did, and I listened to it on audiobook, and the audiobook was very well done. And overall, I just really enjoyed it. And if you like a little bit of historical fiction, then this probably would be the book for you. And then the last book that I finished in the month fully was The Drowned Woods by Emily Lloyd-Jones. This is like a fun take on Welsh mythology and inspired by like medieval Wales, as well as kind of like a Six of Crows vibe, in my opinion. It doesn't have any of like the gunslinging stuff, but there is this group of people who all have something that they have to kind of join together for in order to achieve a common goal. And they all have different motives for why they want to do this. Some are going out for revenge. Some are doing this because they're in a contract that they can't get out of. And there's just all these different factors that bring them all together in order to try to save their selves, really. It's not necessarily that they're trying to save like a kingdom or anything. They're kind of trying to save themselves. And it was a really, really wonderful and lovely fantasy story. There was times where I think my own brain was having a hard time processing because I wasn't super focused while reading this book. So I think if a reread would happen, I might even enjoy it more. But I love the lyrical and the whimsical writing style. I've read Emily Lloyd-Jones before, and I think she is just a very well-written author. Also, if you're looking for kind of like a Six of Crow vibes, but more fantasy even, like without the industrial aspects, then I think you're gonna like this one. And there is a dash of romance too, of course. And that's all that I actually finished in the month. I am currently reading, as I said, Light Mage by Laurie Forrest. I just started Know My Name by Chanel Miller. I also started a poetry collection called The Maiden in the Tower by Kate Go. I have not gotten very far in that, so I can't give an opinion yet. I started the Apex magazine issue number 136. And again, similarly, I started it, I wanted to read it, I got unfocused, forgot I started reading it. So I'll let you know hopefully next month. And then I did the same thing with one chapter I read of Love Radio by Ebony Liddell, and can't give you much information on that. But I'm hoping in April I will be able to finish most of those that I started. So that was long-winded because I read a lot of books. I think I read a lot of books because I have not been super focused on my writing. And the only thing I could really say is that, as I mentioned in a couple of my vlogs recently, if you watched them, I'm a mental health counselor in a school setting working with teenagers who have a lot of issues going on, and it has definitely been more draining lately. And March was definitely really hard across the board. From all of my like school-based counseling team, like when we have supervision, everybody is just really struggling this time of year. It's just crazy. Writing has been going okay, but it's not where I thought I was gonna be. When I made my goals back in January, I was like, oh, I'm gonna be able to like do 2 edits of Mermaid before April 6th. And any other time, I definitely think I could have, but it's just been hard with my job. But I have been continuing with Mermaid. As of this video, I have completed through chapter 25. So I'm in the 3rd act. I've finished a couple chapters in the month. I also finished the beta reader work that I was doing for a friend, and just kind of waiting to see what she would like me to do next, but that was good. I finished that. I also decided to make another book cover, but I'm not going to share it because I may or may not decide to go forward with this one at some point. I also finished the whole rom-com stuff, like I said, but my co-writer has not finished her part, so we haven't really talked about it too much because there's a ton of things going on. And if you missed my announcement video, the biggest news that happened in March is that I got a short story that got accepted into an anthology. So actually legit, which I'm still not really fully saying it yet, but I guess I can, is that I am going to be published through a small publishing company, and as a part of an anthology where my short story is going to be debuting, and it's pretty cool. So I will leave link down below. There's currently a Kickstarter that is going to help with cost for marketing and the graphic designer for the book, and there's also a link for pre-order, just standard pre-order if you don't want to participate in the Kickstarter. So I'll leave both of them down below. The link will help benefit me, but the Kickstarter will benefit the overall cause and will hopefully avoid delays. So right now it's supposed to be out June 6th. I am hoping that's still going to happen in June 6th, but in the event that maybe the Kickstarter doesn't, it might get pushed back a little bit more. So, you know, pick and choose what you want to do. But if you would like to support me in any way, I would definitely recommend pre-ordering it in some capacity, either through the Kickstarter or the link. And I also announced that I have an upcoming writing retreat / artist retreat that I'm going to be doing. And the only update I have to that is that people are booking it. Like it's happening. It's happening. And we only had we had shared rooms and private rooms. And there's also a day pass that you can come up just for Saturday to do the activities if you're in the area. But we only have 4 spots available for shared rooms already. There was a decent amount of shared rooms and they're already almost booked, which is wild to me. I was talking to the owner that I am partnering with, and we were just saying like we might have to maneuver things around if we possibly have more people that want to come with us. So I don't know. It's just super exciting like that this is actually going to be a real thing. I'm just so excited. So that's really all the writing things I have. Nothing too crazy, but like also crazy stuff. Like, you know, yeah, I hope that you're gonna join me in all these crazy adventures. And then some for personal life tidbits. I really don't have much personal life tidbits to share. I don't think anything crazy happened in March enough for me to talk about. I do have some stuff coming up in the next couple of months, so I'm excited to share about. However, I did watch 4 movies in March. We watched 65, which was with Adam Driver, and it's like his character on a different planet comes to Earth 65 million years ago when we had dinosaurs still. It was not great, in my opinion. I love Adam Driver and I thought the performance was good, but it just was very predictable, like overkill predictable and rather boring because of it. So I watched it once and I'm glad I saw it, and I will never watch it again, unfortunately. We also watched Knock at the Cabin, which is based on the Cabin at the End of the World book, which I did not read. That's another one. I enjoyed watching it. I thought it was an interesting take. I was kind of expecting maybe a little bit more on the weird or scare factor. It was fun, and I'm glad we had a little date night, me and my husband. I'll probably never watch it again. More recently, we saw John Wick 4, which I did absolutely love. And I cannot explain to you, well, actually, I probably can explain to you why I think they're so good, because the plot themselves isn't super compelling or unique, right? It's this guy who had something done to him in his life. He felt wronged and he wanted to get out of this organization, and they brought him back in. And so he has to fight everybody and kill them all in order to, like, you know, get the life that he wants. This is the 4th installment, obviously, with Keanu Reeves. And I just think there's so much that this movie offers as far as like eye-pleasing things, because the plot is just simple, but the camera angles, the way that shots are made, like the way that they zoom in or out. Like there's this one scene in the movie where the shot, like they're fighting through a house and the shot is like going through the rooms like above them, and it's just so visually pleasing and cool to watch. The choreography is also amazing. It's like, you know, when you're fighting people, it's like watching a dance. Like everything just looks so believable and it's exciting, and I really just enjoy the movies. So I had a good time with that one. That was a win. And then finally, we also watched The Whale with Brendan Fraser. The Whale was excellent. I think it does deserve all the accolades it got. Brendan Fraser was amazing. It was very sad. I ended the movie just feeling very morose because, like, what can you feel after watching it? If you've seen it, then you probably understand what I'm trying to say right now. But it was very well done. It just was a very sad movie overall. So, you know, that's where we are. And then as far as TV goes, I have 2 things I watched. I watched Modern Family with my husband. That has been our binge show lately, and I've been enjoying it. It's so funny. We're almost done. We watched almost the entirety of it in March. I believe we are almost done with season 9 as I'm filming this. And then, of course, Daisy Jones and the Six came out in March. Even though I have not actually finished it by the time I'm watching it, I ended up having a really busy weekend when the last 2 episodes came out, and I haven't watched them yet. But excellent. Like, as somebody who loved the book, I could not have asked for a better adaptation. I think it's so faithful. I love the casting. I love Sam Claflin. I also love, I think her name's Erin, but the main character who played Daisy, excellent. Just everything's excellent. Also, the girl has pipes on her, which makes sense because I believe she's Elvis and Lisa Marie Presley's daughter, which I didn't know until after this fact. So, I mean, amazing. Amazing. Love it. If you like the book, or you just like the whole 70s rock era niche, because that's what I love, then I think you'll love this. And like I said, no spoilers. I still need to watch this last 2, but I'm excited to finish it and just see how everything wraps up. Even though I already know how it wraps up because I've read the book, but you know. Anyway, so yeah, that's everything that happened in March. I had quite a lot of things, I guess, to talk about, even though I didn't do much, but I'm excited. So I wanted to really tack on here real quick some of my April plans, because April is Camp Nano and I don't feel like I want to do a separate video for this. So if you stuck it out, hi, here's my plans for April. So for Camp Nano, I did this 2 years ago and I really wanted to bring it back because I love poetry and April is National Poetry Writing Month. So for April, I'm gonna write a poem a day. I am also gonna be using the Escape April prompts, which is on Instagram. I will leave it linked down below, where basically they give you a prompt and you write a poem for it for 30 days. And that's what I would like to do with my time. So my April goal is just to do the poem a day. On top of that, aside from camp, I am gonna continue working in my mermaid book. The reason that I'm only gonna say wherever I go is because April is also the month, at the end of the month on the 24th, I take my licensure exam. And obviously I've been prepping for this for 2 years, so I'm very nervous and I need to definitely ramp up my studying the next like 2-3 weeks and get through my book and feel more prepared, because I've been trying to save the sections that I'm uncertain about to get to a little closer so I can take more time to study them if I need to. So that's it. We're coming close, so I need to finish that. And I'm really nervous, but I'm also really excited. Like, I think I'm gonna pass because I feel like I know this, and even studying, I know most of the material, but it's a lot of pressure. I think once I get this done with, though, I think it's gonna release this like chokehold in my brain that like I can actually focus on writing again, because you know how we go, like, right, with our brains, where you feel like guilty that you're not doing something. Like if I'm not studying, I feel guilty, but then I also avoid studying, so then I feel panicky. And I've been doing that a lot, even though when I do get to study and I sit down, it's fine. It's just that tug of war that's been going on. And I think if that tug of war ends, I'm gonna feel good and I'll be able to actually focus more on other things that I want to do instead of studying and worrying about school and all this shit. So yeah, that's coming up in April. So those are my plans. Finish studying for my exam and take my exam and pass my exam. Those are 2 goals because I need to do all of them. And then continue writing Mermaid. I'm not gonna make my April 6th goal. If you've watched my vlogs, I had that on the calendar that I wanted to finish by April 6th. It's not gonna happen. But I did make some mood boards for my current project, my mermaid book. I'll probably include them in the vlogs that'll be upcoming. But yeah, I'm just gonna continue that and then write a poem every day. So very excited for April, guys. Let me know down below what your goals are for April. I'm sorry if this was all manic and chaotic, because that's my mood today. I had extra caffeine and it might come across as such. But yeah, I want to hear from you. Let me know your April goals. Let me know how your March was. Let me know if we've read any of the same things, we watched any of the same things, and just give me some conversation. Don't forget to go down below and pre-order the STYGIAN collection from the STYGIAN Society, because then you get to read my short story. And until next time, guys, I'll see you then. Bye.